I'm on Jimmy Kimmel's side on that one.
Have you heard anything? Do you know?
No, I haven't heard anything. I don't know why people would contact me, but no, I haven't heard anything.
How's the playing field change, Jay?
What's that?
How's the playing field change?
Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? So we'll see. We'll see.
Could you have ever imagined something like this happening when you were on the air?
Yeah, these kind of things happen all the time. But, you know, you don't get canceled saying popular things. You get canceled, sometimes, usually it's the truth that winds up getting canceled. So we'll see what happens.
You and Jimmy Kimmel have been good friends for a long time. I'm sure you've heard about the show being suspended indefinitely because of his comments over Charlie Kirk's killing. What do you make of it, Jason?
Well, it's troubling to say the least, and we all have to really take a moment and figure out how we feel about this type of thing, especially people doing what you do. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of collective move to respond to this, but I'm not smart enough or powerful enough to be the one to do it. But I imagine there's plenty of conversations going on to do something, because you just can't stand by and let stuff like that go on.
Stuff like?
Well, Jimmy getting his show pulled for, freedom of speech.
Well, the media and politicians and everyone, all the editorial boards of the nation's biggest paper, including the Wall Street Journal, that wrote Mr. Kimmel's words were only moderately offensive. We want to be clear that none of this justifies the right's resort to regulatory censorship. And the premise that Democrats are more concerned about Jimmy Kimmel than they were about the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk is completely unfounded. Democrats said all the right things that all of us felt about, that it was tragic, that violence, political violence, has no place in our society. And we were met with, this is your fault, and we are at war. There's been this move today to rewrite the story of how Jimmy Kimmel ended up being indefinitely suspended, to absolve Brendan Carr of his role in this and the government's larger role in it. But the timeline just doesn't add up. I've heard, well, read the Hollywood Reporter and read the Wall Street Journal on this. I looked through all of it, and the common denominator is that Brendan Carr said to Benny Johnson, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And the affiliates, who were already freaking out about it for sure, decided then that they were going to pull it. And so ABC and Disney in general, Bob Iger, had no choice but to do it. There are some smart Republicans that are cautioning them to come back from this line. Ted Cruz, of all people, who's the chair of the Commerce Committee, which actually has oversight over the FCC, said what Carr said there is dangerous as hell. That's right out of a mafioso. When it's used to silence conservatives, we will regret it. We should denounce it. So I understand now we don't live in cancel culture. It's just consequence culture. And you think an eye for an eye is a good solution to everything. That's what I've seen pelted at me about this. Well, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. That is not a way to run a free society. And you can't just trample on the First Amendment because something tragic and horrible happened.
So on the limb here, I'm reasonably confident. In fact, I say I'm very confident. One thing Hollywood doesn't do is waste money. You know that expression, hit them in the pocket. So with regards to Jimmy Kimmel, I appreciate every single person has an opinion, especially those who are on X or whatever it's called, but there's a fact. ABC have announced that they're keeping on all of the staff for the Kimmel Show for the foreseeable future. That is not a sign that they're about to close the door and shut everything down. Plus, if you look at the amount of people who are just beginning to come on board to support Jimmy, it's a very powerful collection of people. And interestingly enough, some of the Republicans are finding themselves in the Jimmy Kimmel camp by default. Freedom of speech, free speech. I mean, Ted Cruz has basically said it with regard to Mr. Carr at the FCC. So I will make this prediction right now. Today is Saturday. The Kimmel Show actually is literally, like kind of over there, give or take a few kilometres. It will be back. Yeah, it will be back on ABC. Now, it could come back temporarily, and it could be the last season. That's a different subject. I would just tell you now, 100%, Jimmy Kimmel will be back. If you disagree, feel free in the comments section now. But confident because it's always about the money. And the money right now is, well, it's in the Kimmel camp, and plus legally, yes. How will that work? Somehow I don't think that ABC, Disney, etc. will replace Kimmel. And what are they going to do? Take him off Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as well? Bearing in mind, that's already been filmed. Comment section all yours.
Top Republicans also are not defending everything Trump is doing, as it's all cast in the open this week. A Republican senator warning the censorship effort should make everyone careful about any lines we cross in diminishing free speech, while none other than Ted Cruz rebuking Trump's efforts to try to control or decide your free speech.
I think it is unbelievably dangerous for government to put itself in the position of saying, we're going to decide what speech we like and what we don't. If the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives.
That's Ted Cruz's concern. He's a longtime lawyer turned politician. He's extremely conservative in his politics, and you saw he put a little political point at the end. He said that would be bad for conservatives. Of course, it would be bad for liberals and libertarians and people with other varied views. Because since the founding of this country, it is bad for the government to try to control public speech, free press. And if they get away with it and do it enough, we don't have a democracy anymore.
We saw Jimmy Kimmel's show was canceled. We don't know what the reasons are, really. It's very cloudy and murky. I don't understand what's happening right now. My industry doesn't understand what's happening right now. But what they do understand is our freedom of speech is being attacked.
And he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others? Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left...
Do you defend his right to do so?
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks this country on a nightly basis.
Whoa. Hold on. Listen, there are plenty of people over on another network that I will not name who lied about the last election, who denigrate half the country every single night. And guess what? They are allowed to do it. Now, the question is, Scott, is the government...
By their company. It's their business decision.
Hold on. But is the government supposed to be punishing people for the speech that they don't like? Is that the role of the government in your mind?
The government is not punishing them. This was not a government decision. Ultimately, Disney made a decision. Ultimately, CBS made a decision earlier this year. You all are blaming the government. That's your opinion. That's your opinion about their business motivations.
All right, well,
I'm sure it was going to make Sinclair and Nexstar go crazy.
But what about Trump using the government to enforce it? Because it's not just his words. He is also using the government to enforce his words.
Well, it is your opinion that they were threatening them. It is my opinion that they had a larger decision to make regarding their business interests.
Twice now. It is not my opinion that Brendan Carr said, you can either do this or I will do that. That's what he said. That's not my opinion. That's a fact.
Look, my view is all these companies have business decisions to make that are based on more than just what a singular person said in an interview. They've got affiliates to deal with. They've got advertisers to deal with. I promise
you
that when Jimmy Kimmel does what he does,
bring the FCC into it.
Well, look, he gave an interview. I can't tell you that if I were the head of the FCC, I would have given that interview. It sounded a little over the top to me, but I still believe that what's going on here has more to do with their business than it does with the government.
Then
why won't you guys denounce it? That's the thing. Why won't you say what the FCC, what they did is wrong? I mean, I think that's the problem. It was a threat from the administration, and I understand the business dealing 100%. Just like the first ABC settlement, I truly believe that they were looking at it. It was a business deal. It was a business decision there, and that's why they moved forward with that. But when it comes to an actual threat from the federal government, that's wrong. It is wrong for our government to threaten these organizations when they have the power to approve mergers.
They didn't have to do this. They looked at all of the factors and said, okay, it's time for us to take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. I think there's more going on than just Brendan Carr's interview. All the time the president criticizes media outlets who then go out and continue to do what he hates it.
And then he sues them.
He sues them for $15 billion.
And what's going to happen? Nothing. What's going to happen?
This is an attempt to intimidate the New York Times. And you've heard me on the show. I'm not crazy about the New York Times coverage right now, but they're trying to intimidate them. The same thing with ABC, the same thing with CBS. This is the power of the government brought down on speech, on the press.
Okay? But we have to be consistent. It's not just when it's directed at Charlie Kirk. The president directs all kinds of negative words at people every single day, and he has a right to do it, not just because he's the president, but because he's a citizen of this country. So where do you draw the line? Are you going to draw it anywhere?
I think free speech should be as free and wide as possible. But I also think you don't do it without consequences. If people do things and say things that they're legally under the Constitution able to do, doesn't mean I can't say you're wrong. Doesn't mean I can't point attention to that.
So
and
by the way, is all
that
good
cancel
and well,
culture just a couple weeks ago was happening against conservatives on campus.
Listen,
over
I
and
guess
over again.
I guess now cancel culture is fine.
The law of the land.
Do you agree with the people who are demonizing the ICE agents?
Listen,
do you think it's good to do
I
it?
don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
I don't have to agree with
so
it.
you can understand why they would have an opinion about it.
As Supreme Court Justice Alito said, you know, our First Amendment is such that I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it to protect your right to say it.
Can I also say,
I'm not saying they can't.
But I'm saying as an employer or a neighbor, I don't have to agree with it just because you do it.
When the government puts the force of the United States of America on its citizens, it should be for very good reason. It should not be in violation of the document, the Constitution, which is literally on this very day.
Well, but the DHS secretary,
That is blatant censorship.
Straight question, really straight question. Do you ever stop to think for one moment, well, if you get a second, where have it used to be where have all the adults gone to, but I think that phrase is overused, but where have all the smart people who are publicly seen all over the place, where have they gone to?
And it always starts small. You know, remember like in week 1 of his presidency, Gulf of America.
What is going on? It's like, it's reminiscent of a child's playground.
Call it Gulf of America. Sure, seems harmless, but with an autocrat, you cannot give an inch.
I would say that my child goes to school.
Anyway, to sum it up, President Trump is
making America great again.
Kindergarten, school, elementary school.
We have another fun, hilarious
school. The kids are more mature than some of
administration compliant show.
Our political faces and political figures. I mean, this tit for tat which is going on right now in terms of political mudslinging.
I'm going to say before we get started here that I've always
silence that person because we don't like what he says, and well, clearly the president doesn't have a sense of humor.
Admired and respected.
Or very thick skin. Yet he's the first person, numero uno, to dish
Well, guys, the big story is that Jimmy Kimmel was suspended by ABC.
out insults. We've reached a really ridiculous situation right now where basically if you say a joke or make any aside or sarcastic comment and it goes with the political narrative
After pressure from the FCC, leaving everyone thinking WTF.
of those who are in power, then it's okay. But if you say anything which is humorous, funny, and it goes against the administration, then it's wrong. You could be banned. You could be silenced. The thing that doesn't make sense is I tend to think most political setups are like.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored.
Pendulum from one side to the other. So at some stage, is nobody going to clock that maybe sometime in the future there will be a political party in power in America different to the one now? And they may be thinking, payback time, because some of the things that are being done, well, they're a little bit ludicrous. I'm not just talking about Jimmy Kimmel, but now it's like kind of no late night show.
I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would.
Unless it's Greg Gutted on Fox News, kissing the posterior of the current President of the United States of America. Humor's gone. Jokes are out. I always thought that the idea of being a strong, confident person, you didn't take yourself too seriously.
Anyway, to sum it up, President Trump is
making America great again.
And you could enjoy a joke. I mean, let's face it, Biden was rollicked every single second hour, non-stop.
By restoring our national reputation, reinvigorating our economy, and rebuilding our military.
I didn't see him trying to ban anybody or trying to have anybody taken off air. The hypocrisy.
I hereby nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize.
The United Kingdom, where he was met with protests, while back here at home.
And you can quote me on that.
Donald Trump is on his way back from a trip
here is just pathetic. And what's happening as well, certain people are rushing to
crackdown on
put their face in front of a camera to make sure that they don't fall under the slap wrist of the president. My thoughts are, let them get on with it. They'll run out of steam eventually. Humor.
Admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always
having a laugh and jokes. That will never stop, regardless of what they say or
believed he was a visionary, innovator, a great president, and even better golfer.
Do. Nobody can stop us having a laugh. That being said, then, describe Trump in one word. One word only. Comment section now. Thank you.
And if you've ever seen me say anything negative about him, that's just AI.
Kind of thing really here is like, most people, if you stop them, are kind of like, what the heck's going on? He's a comedian. It's as simple as that. And it's like, I think they're in a total level of shock that something has become this politicized. Let me ask the dog. Excuse me, what's your name? Come and say something to me. What's your name? Speak. Let me ask you. I want to take the temperature of what's going on in America right now. All right? Let's get a dog's perspective of it. Come down with me. I want to get a dog's perspective. Right? Right now, come down. What is going on in America? Right? Why? Seriously, I'm on my hands and knees. Why is America now against comedians? Tell me something. You like Trump? Did you vote for Trump or Kamala? Right? Trump's in the UK at the moment. Right? I would like to get your opinion. Should comedians be allowed to have a say? Yes or no?
Yeah, if we have a...
Hold on, don't interrupt the dog. Let me speak. The dog has rights here. They're interrupting the dog's First Amendments. Right. Back to where we were. Can we shake hands on something? Yeah? From an Englishman to an American dog. Are we good? So, you're going to get the final word. Yeah? Final word. Who's funnier? Fallon, Kimmel, or Colbert? But 1 for Kimmel, 2 for Fallon. Let me tell you this. You carry on barking if you think Tony's funnier than all of them. Yeah. Dog wins. Please subscribe.
Disney is also in a difficult position because it also has a pending deal before the government. It needs Justice Department approval to buy a streaming service called Fubo. So these executives, they are keeping in mind the importance of currying favor with the Trump administration, given just how blatantly transactional President Trump and SEC Chairman Brendan Carr have proven to be.
Yeah, Brian, stay with us. Joining us now is our team, Republican strategist, former Trump campaign advisor, and CNN senior political commentator David Urban, Harvard law professor Rebecca Tushnet, and television and media reporter for the Los Angeles Times, Stephen Battaglio. Stephen, what's your sense of who makes the next move, or is there another move here for Kimmel to make?
I'm surprised it's gone on as long as it has, and I think it just shows that people I've talked to who are close to Jimmy Kimmel know him well, say that he will not apologize, or he will not come out there, and he certainly won't do what Sinclair is asking him to do, a sort of an absurd request to give a donation to Turning Point USA, and it's going to make it very difficult to put him back on, and it's turning into an absolute public relations disaster for the Walt Disney Company. There were the Writers Guild East their members were protesting outside of Disney headquarters today. I don't think Bob Iger likes seeing his names on posters with the word fascist on it, or photos of Donald Trump. It's getting extremely ugly.
Professor, what's so interesting about this, the way this all played out, is again the point that the president didn't have to, and the FCC didn't actually have to do anything other than speak out, because the president has already shown with what he did with law firms that just by pulling levers of pressure, he can get these organizations which have other business interests to cave. I mean, with law firms, it was, okay, your attorneys are not going to be allowed into government buildings, so you won't be able to meet with government officials, and you have clients who need you to be able to meet with government officials. We will intimidate other people from other big corporations from hiring your firm. I mean, this is part of a pattern.
It's definitely part of a pattern, and the thing that's just very hard to swallow is also in that pattern is that the people who fight win. So the law firms that fought back, because this was cartoonishly unconstitutional, that easily won. So nobody needed to fold, and frankly, the same is true here, except, as you said, some of them want to fold to get approval for their mergers. And if we want government not to be in the business of dictating content, one of the things we need is more competition, fewer mergers, so that the government doesn't have that place to step in.
David, how does a supporter of the president square the president's comments from 8 months ago saying, I'm going to pass this executive order protecting free speech, never again will the government use its, immense power to silence anyone, with these actions?
Anderson, I like that the second tape you rolled that did show the president saying that, and I agree with Senator Cruz and associate myself with his remarks, as is said in the Senate, right? I believe that he's exactly correct. Whether it's Elizabeth Warren pressuring Amazon to censor, Google, censor searches for books on COVID, or whether it's Joe Biden, pressuring Mark Zuckerberg during COVID to take things away, or whether it's Donald Trump and Brendan Carr pressuring, in this situation. I think it's reprehensible. I think it's wrong. I think cancel culture in any form is wrong. But what I think, Anderson, is the nub here is really, look, Jimmy Kimmel and Jon Stewart and others, they bash the president night after night, and it's fine. It isn't satire, and it's part of the American system of debate and dialogue, and it's funny at times. What isn't funny, though, and what I think got Kimmel in the problem here, is the raw nerve of Charlie Kirk. I mean, the kid was brutally assassinated, basically on live television for the world to watch. We all saw what happened. We saw his widow mourning. He hasn't been buried yet. His service is this Sunday. For Jimmy Kimmel to come out and be so insensitive in that moment and really just repulsive, and not say that he's going to come out. Listen, if he would have come out and said the next day, look, I overdid it. I really apologize on the Charlie Kirk thing. I shouldn't have said that. But I mean what I said about Trump. I think he'd still have his job. I think Americans understand. What I don't think Americans understand was kind of the mean-spirited attack on Charlie Kirk. Free speech is free speech, and the marketplace is going to police itself. When your business model is to attack 50% of America, at some point, the networks are going to say the local affiliates aren't going to be able to get advertisers from Tractor Supply or Walmart or the Trump supporters, and they're going to boot them out. And so I think the business decision of who you keep employed and who's funny and who's not funny. Look, Nate Bargatze, Anderson, is the world's most successful comedian. Historically, it's a verifiable fact. Every record book he's broken, stadiums, coliseums. You know what he isn't? He isn't political. He's just funny. He's just a funny guy. And so maybe the rule is, if you want to try to have a late night show, be funny. I think Jimmy Fallon is funny. He doesn't cross over the line into like mean-spirited politics. So I think If Kimmel went back and said, hey, I am really sorry for offending Charlie Kirk's families and supporters, what I said was insensitive, that'd go a long way in America. We're talking about healing and coming together, and for him to kind of dance on his grave, I think is just reprehensible.
Well, I mean, was anybody dancing on Charlie? I mean, as I remember, he put out a social media post expressing condolences to the family. And what he said and that we're putting it up there, but what he said on the show